are you today?
Good.
I'm Alyssa.
I'm Bria.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet
I want to
you.
thank you for coming out today. It means a lot.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, good. Well, I'd like to start off by asking you a couple questions. I don't know if you're very familiar with gardening. Have you ever started your own?
I tried and it died,
Okay.
so I'm not very good.
It's okay. Not everybody has a natural green thumb. It's hard to get all the information to start out with. So one of my main goals here today is that because of the heightened risk of breast cancer, I'd like to try to incorporate more fruits and vegetables by kind of being more self-sufficient and starting your own garden, and then that way you're able to save a little bit of money. You're able to produce more fresh fruits and vegetables instead of having to go out to the grocery store, and you actually get to try a different variety of new foods.
Sounds
So,
great.
before we get started though, I would like you to fill out a little pre-quiz just to kind of see what we know in the whole gardening field, and then after that we can go more into how to get started.
Okay, great.
Alright, so you're all finished?
I'm done.
Let's see if we can go over your answers real quick. So question number 1, a vegetable garden needs very little sunlight and lots of shade. True or false?
I said false.
That's correct.
Okay.
Your typical vegetable garden will require about 8 hours of sunlight, which is easy to come by. But when you're choosing your gardening area, it's good to look for an open, free space that doesn't have a lot of large buildings. Fortunately, not this area, but large buildings and large trees that would have too much shade covering your plants. Question 2, if you want to grow produce, you need to have a really big yard.
I said true.
That's actually false.
Really?
It is, because sometimes when we decide to take on any new project, it's smart to start out small. Same goes with the small garden. It allows you to easily manage smaller vegetables such as carrots or tomatoes while you gain experience. You can always expand your garden in the future. Okay, question number 3. My garden should be watered at least 3 times per day to maintain proper growth.
I said false.
That is very true, because it may be tempting to constantly water your plants, but too much water can do as much damage as not enough.
I think that's what I have a problem with.
It's okay. So a general rule of thumb for when it comes to watering plants is you want to measure about 1 inch of water per week, and you can do that by a rain gauge or a plastic cup with a ruler. But from my personal experience, I like to go by feel and touch. So if the soil feels dry and crumbly, my hands are not moist, then usually that's a good indicator to water. But if it's balls up in your hand and it's a good moisture, then you can let it be. Question 4. It is often easier to identify and harvest your plants if the seeds are sowed or planted in rows.
I said true.
This is true. And I'm sure you know why, because when you plant in rows, it's easier to organize, and that way you're able to keep up with what needs to be harvested at what time. Question 5. Because carrot seeds are so small, it is okay to sprinkle them into the garden.
I said true.
It's actually false. And this is because carrots grow fine in such a small space. The seeds should be planted evenly apart. That way it'll help increase their size and shape, and they won't get all claustrophobic.
Okay. Yeah.
Number 6. Leaf lettuce only takes a month to grow.
I said false.
Actually true. It grows the best in colder weather, and it's just a nutritious vegetable that grows very quick. And if you often plant it in mid-April, the ground starts to begin to warm, and you should see a full head of lettuce ready to harvest after 4 weeks.
Interesting.
Okay, question 7. Tomato plants should be started indoors.
I said true.
This is very true. Because of the physical properties of tomatoes, it's best to first plant and maintain their growth indoors for 5 to 6 weeks before you move them to an outdoor garden. And then they should remain indoors if winter frost is expected. And then once you pass that season, it's okay to transplant them outside. And question 8, asparagus is a perennial.
I said false.
It's actually true. Perennial means that it lasts for longer than a year. So a perennial plant is like asparagus, and there are actually some avid home gardeners who have been known to harvest asparagus for over 40 years.
Really?
Yeah. And if you wish to take advantage of having asparagus readily available, I would suggest that you plant the seeds along the outside. That way you're able to maintain those plants and focus didn't do too bad on the quiz. And I know that you've already taken the nutrition education session.
I did.
Cody. Yep. And you also did the grocery store tour with Allie. All right. So from that, I know you learned about phytochemicals. Do you have any questions about that, or do you feel comfortable?
I think I'm pretty good with.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you know that the phytochemicals are basically stronger antioxidants that have evidence-based research that help prevent against or help lower the risk of certain cancers and infections, things like that. Okay, well, that's good. I actually printed off for you a rainbow color chart to show you. I'm sure you got it in the other classes too, but just to give you another show of what the colors stand for and the possible protective substances found in our plants. So, you know, for red, it's like tomatoes. You find lycopene in there, and that's an antioxidant that cuts certain cancers. You've got your yellow-orange, that's the citrus fruits. That's going to be a good source of vitamin C and flavonoids, which inhibit tumor cell growth, which could be very beneficial. We've got greens, which we also have kale in the spinach right back there. And the greens are rich in folate, which can help rebuild healthy cells and also some genetic material. You have your whites, your greens, your blues are going to be really good for the anthocyanins, which destroy free radicals, also good for cancer. And you have your brown, the brown color, which is whole grains and legumes, and that's going to be rich in fiber, which will help with carcinogen removal.
I didn't know about the brown ones.
Yeah, and it is a little bit more difficult to garden for grains and legumes, but if you do have the allotted space and time in the right location, you're able to do that. All right, so now, have you heard of the 5 a Day for Better Health program?
Allie kind of touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, it's basically a program to set as a reminder to aim to consume 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. So how do you think having a garden available at your convenience, say whether it's in your neighborhood or right next to your house, would help, remind you to eat fruits and vegetables?
I think since you have to kind of water it, often, kind of, sort of, it will remind me that I have this available, and then I won't have to go to a grocery store.
It's true.
But when I have to wait for them to grow, then I can.
Yeah, it's good to practice a little bit of patience when it comes to gardening, but if you're persistent and keep up regular maintenance, it'll work out just fine. And that's what the class is here for. So here I have a in-season produce chart, especially for Georgia, and this just focuses on the months and which fruits and vegetables grow best in those months. So right now, we could look at, say, carrots, for example. Carrots grow really well in a cooler climate. So right now, since it's just starting to transition into winter, it would be a good time. The soil's still warm, and you can keep up with it through the rest of the year. Collards are also good to start around this time. Turnips, green and the bunch. And it looks like strawberries too. You could even start towards the end of winter if you wanted to. But that'll serve as a good reference, just so you know if you're ever looking for different seeds to get or trying to branch out and try new fruits and vegetables. This will give you a good idea of what to follow. Cool. Okay, so now that we've gone over what produce grows best in which seasons, I think we should start talking about how to start your own garden.
Yes.
Okay, so I printed off this vegetable gardening tip sheet for you, and it basically goes through in short bullet points of where to put your garden. So like I said, a sunny open spot that's not blocked by big buildings or trees, and also just where, think a good place to maintain soil would be too, that doesn't really get bothered by any pets or want.
Yeah, because I have a dog and he likes to run. I think all dogs like to run. But yeah,
True.
so he likes to, mess up the garden and stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably another reason why.
It could be one possible solution to that would be you've seen chicken wire. You could buy some chicken wire at your local Home Depot or Lowe's, and that way it's not an obstruction to see, but it'll still help kind of serve as a barrier to keep the dog out. Okay, so after you pick out your area, you can even draw out a little blueprint of your garden map to, once you find your seeds, you can figure out what you'd like to place where and give you a better idea rather than starting from scratch. And then once you plant, it's kind of hard to take it back. And then it also talks about just watching and maintaining your plants and how they grow. Like I said about the water thing, we'll go over that in a little bit. But just being patient and water when the soil's dry. And if you can occasionally thin your plants and pick off the dead leaves, that'll just help proliferate, continue the growth for harvest. Perfect. All right, so I will give you 2 tip sheets that I have, and they're pretty simple to start off with, just to give you an idea of 2 seeds that might be good to start in this time. We've got lettuce right now, and we also have the sweet butterleaf lettuce over there, and it's different from a head. So if you are ready to harvest and you see it's a pretty big size, you can just cut from the bottom about 1.5 inches or so, and then it'll continue to grow.
So it goes for, it's like a continuous type?
Yeah. And about, once you start the seeds, you should see a full head of lettuce within a month, and then it'll just keep growing. It's very, very convenient to have. Yep. And then it'll just go over what kinds of lettuce, and it even tells you how to do the spacing and what the season is, and then when the appropriate time is to harvest. And I also printed out for you carrots. Now we don't have carrots in this garden right now, but because it's a well-liked and easy to maintain vegetable, I thought it would be a good idea. Basically, it does grow better in the cooler climates, and if you can, the size doesn't matter of your garden, but just keep it evenly spaced so that you each have enough room to grow. You'll get a good outcome there. So I'll let you hold on to that one. Okay, so now that we've gone over some of the ideas to get your garden started and some seeds that might be easy to maintain when you're first practicing your gardening skills, I wanted to show you the lettuce that we have right now. This is a loose leaf lettuce. This isn't the lettuce head. So this,
it's not like an iceberg lettuce?
Right, it's a little bit different. It's actually sweeter than iceberg lettuce too. Yeah, you'll get to try some in a minute. But like I said, once it gets to a pretty good size, you can cut close to near the base, and you have a good amount of lettuce that's just ready to eat. Pick your favorite salad dressing, throw in some more vegetables, and you have a good healthy meal. Okay, so now that we've gone over some of the simple tips to get started with your own garden and talking about the different seeds that'll be good to plant in this season now that it's turning into winter, I wanted to show you that here we have the loose leaf lettuce, and so it's ideal to grow in this time, and it grows so quickly that you'll just have an abundance of it always.
Okay.
And you're more than welcome to try some if you'd like. All right. You can see how it's a little bit different from romaine and iceberg. It almost has a bit of a richer, sweeter texture.
Yeah, it does taste a little
You like
sweeter.
it? Yeah. So if you were to even add that to maybe like a tart or bitter vinaigrette or salad dressing, it'd complement it really well.
Yeah.
And then because the soil is wet, I just wanted to show you how the way that I measure how the soil needs to be watered or not. Basically, when you pick it up and it kind of clumps, that just means that you have enough moisture in there. And when you compare that to the drier soil, right here, you can tell that even when you try to clamp it up into a ball, it just falls straight through your fingertips. And that is a very good indicator to know that you need to water. But usually, normally, your soil should look like that. And if you keep up with a brisk watering every day with enough sunlight, I think you'll do just fine starting your garden.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Well, since we're finishing up this session, I would just ask if you wouldn't mind filling out a follow-up survey. That way I know for when we have future classes what to improve on and how we can gradually go along with your gardening experience and then really get you started to have your own fresh produce always available and hopefully keep eating healthier.
Yeah. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
You like it?
Show know.